I would not get excited about so-called alternative investments. You can get all kinds of different figures, but there's probably at least $1 trillion committed to buying, in effect, buying businesses. And if you figure they're going to leverage them, 2 for 1 on that, you may have $3 trillion of buying power trying to buy businesses in the U.S. market may be something over 30 trillion now, but there's all kinds of businesses that aren't for sale and that thing. So the supply-demand situation for buying businesses privately and leveraging them up has changed dramatically.
I'm going to show you some really important things that Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger have said about business and finance. I'm curating some of the things that I felt that were very valuable and very helpful in terms of figuring out what's going on right now, because these times are pretty interesting, wouldn't you say? And right here, we're starting out with him talking about private equity firms and how they leverage up and how they're pretty dishonest and they're pretty risky. So hit that subscribe button. We'll get back to it.
It was 10 or 20 years ago, and I'm sure it doesn't happen with your Winnipeg operation, but we have seen a number of proposals from private equity funds where the returns are really not calculated in a manner that, they're not calculated in a manner that I would regard as honest. And
see, pretty important to know something like that. If the Oracle of Omaha is saying that, because he's pretty conservative with his words, if he's saying something like that, watch out, because I do think we are going to see a lot more private equity and shadow banking coming out as lending options. I'm just thinking of them as loan sharks. And so he's talking about the other end, about how when they reveal their numbers to people to invest in them, I think both sides are pretty risky, but we'll get back to it.
And so it's not something. If I were running a pension fund, I would be very careful about what was being offered to me. If you're going to have a choice in Wall Street between being a great analyst or being a great salesperson, the salesperson is the way to make it. If you can raise $10 billion in a fund and you get a 1.5% fee and you lock people up for 10 years, you and your children and your grandchildren will never have to do a thing if you are the dumbest investor in the world.
He's just laying it all out there. Showing the truth. Showing the absolute truth that, listen, the incentives are very misaligned and it's just too juicy for people to just be dishonest, very dishonest, but make a shit ton of money. Where there, what he was saying is being an analyst, which would be more honest and showing your true opinion and your data and what you find out there, as opposed to just being a salesperson, raising billions and billions of dollars and setting yourself, your family up for generations to come. It's just way too appealing. And he knows that because it's human nature. And so he's saying, be careful. He just all out avoids it. And then he also mentions his experience with seeing the actual numbers. It all lines up to the same thing every time. And with what we're going on right now with the numbers that we're seeing out there in 2023, with this recession that seems to be forecasted, everything going on, I think we are going to see a lot of dishonest things come to light and be revealed and crush a lot of investments. So be careful out there. Let's get back to the Oracle.
A thing if you were the dumbest investor in the world. Charlie?
Well, I think what we're doing will work more safely than what he's doing, but I wish him well.
Yeah, Brent, you sound like a guy that I would hope would be working for a public pension fund, because frankly, most of the institutional funds, we had this terrible right here in Omaha, and you can get a story of what happened with our Omaha Public Schools retirement fund, and they were doing fine, and until the manager started going in a different direction, and the trustees here, perfectly decent people, and the manager had done okay to that point, and it became.
They were smarter in Winnipeg than they are here.
Yeah, well,
That was pretty bad here.
So he's talking about how some pension funds got absolutely screwed and lost a lot of money because of these salespeople in these private equity firms going to sell and trying to get money. These are pensions, right? He was talking about the teachers' pension right there. Teachers, firefighters, policemen, military, you name it. You may have money in a pension. But the time's coming up, you may want to really get a rundown of where that your pension money is going.
it's not a fair fight, actually, usually when a bunch of public officials are listening to people who are motivated to, who really just get paid for raising the money. Everything else is gravy after that. But if you run a fund and you get even 1%, of $1 billion, you're getting $10 million a year coming in, and if you've got the money locked up for a long time, it's a very one-sided deal. And I told the story of asking the guy one time in the past, why in the world can you ask for 2 and 20 when you really haven't got any kind of evidence that you are going to do better with the money than you do in an index fund? And he said, well, that's because I can't get 3 and 30.
That, well said, Warren. Well said. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet.
What I don't like about a lot of the pension fund investment is I think they like it because they don't have to mark it down as much as it should be in the middle of the panics. I think that's a silly reason to buy something, because you're given leniency in marking it down.
Yeah, and when you commit the money, in the case of private equity often, they don't take the money, but you pay a fee on the money that you've committed. And of course, you really have to have that money to come up with it at any time. And of course, it makes their return look better if you sit there for a long time in treasury bills, which you have to hold because they can call you up and demand the money, and they don't count that. They count it in terms of getting a fee on it, but they don't count it in terms of what the so-called internal rate of return is. It's not as good as it looks, and I really do think that when you have a group sitting as a state pension fund,
Or all they're doing is lying a little bit to make the money come in.
yeah, well,
All they're doing is lying a little bit to get the money to come in. Be careful. Be careful of alternative investments and these private equity firms, because the incentives are insanely misaligned with giving any value to the people that actually give them money to manage. Don't take it from me, Warren, Charlie.
yeah, well, that sums it up.
This man has this wonderful horse, and it's just a marvelous horse. It's got an easy,
Charlie tells a fantastic story right here.
and it's just a marvelous horse. It's got an easy gait and good looking and everything. It just works wonderfully. But also occasionally just gets so he's dangerous and vicious and causes enormous damage and trouble and breaks arms and legs for his rider and so on. And he goes to the vet and say, what can I do about this horse? And the vet says, that's a very easy problem and I'm glad to help you. He says, what should I do? And the man says, the next time your horse is behaving well, sell it.
It's true. It's in references to stocks and your investments, right? If you've been having them for a while and they're going up and down all over the place and this and that, next time it goes good and people want to buy it, might be a good time to get out of it.